All right, Randy, we're going to talk about your UFO experience at off the Limestone base, right? You weren't on the Limestone
No,
base, but
no, I was on the South Sawyer Road. It's the east gate of Loring Air Force Base,
so you were just outside the base.
just outside the base. Yeah, about 2 miles.
So what year do you think it was?
I'm gonna say 1991. That's when I met my. It would be my youngest daughter's mother.
So what happened? You were at a friend's house.
No, I was at her house.
Oh.
Yeah, I was living there. It was probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Summertime, probably. It's probably August. Yeah, it was just. I saw some lights through the tree line there, and it didn't make any sense because the airport doesn't run that direction. It runs in parallel this way.
Right.
The direction it was coming at was this way.
At a right angle to the airport.
Yeah, so it was like going away from the airport. It was trying to get it, come on. But to me, it looked like it was coming. Like it was. To me, it looked like an airplane at first. As they get going and then they start up. But this thing stayed in one line the whole direction, and then as it reached the field where I lived, I could tell it wasn't a plane. I couldn't hear it. I'm listening for it, and there's no sound.
Right.
That's what struck me funny. So the more I watched it, it got slower. It didn't just, take off like you would think, or, like an airplane where it just eventually, it stayed at one pace.
Right.
But it was lower to the ground, so because South Sawyer Road sits higher from the base. So here's the south, because you got South Sawyer Road, and then the Air Force Base sits down here.
Uh-huh.
Okay? You have an airline that runs this way towards Limestone, and then you have another one that runs back this way, so it's like a V. So they run, you have ones that come in and ones that go
How high
out.
off the ground do you think this thing was?
It wasn't much more than 200 feet, maybe.
So what did it look like when it got closer to you?
It was just a ball of light. It was just there was no flashing. It was just a white, constant light. It was just like somebody took a flashlight and kept doing this. But, like you're against a wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, at first it looked to be like a plane. But most of the planes that come off that base have two. And they're either blinking or they have just the 2 lights to see the airport. This was just one light. Is what's.
So it was coming towards you?
Coming towards that South Sawyer Road. That's why I was saying it didn't make sense because there's a road there. So then I was like, there's no airport. I mean, I know where the airport was, but it was coming across the field, off that base. So yeah, that's stuck with me for a long time.
So what happened? What finally happened?
Eventually, it seemed like it was going to go out of sight, and then eventually it did go straight up.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Did it go up really fast, or?
No, like I said, it came out to a certain point. It almost felt like it was watching me or something. I could almost feel it. I was like, geez, this don't make sense. I mean, I'm seeing something, and it feels like the damn thing is looking at me.
I know the feeling.
And I don't understand. I mean, is it something like they can sense, it's almost like a security thing, like they can sense, like you can see them? It doesn't make sense because I watched it, and then it felt like it was watching me.
That's a very common observation or feeling that people get, and a lot of the reports seem to indicate that they're telepathic.
Because I kept watching it and watching it and watching it, and I'm thinking, yeah, this thing's just going to fly off, but it just kept... I could still visualize it in my brain. I'm looking at this thing through the window, and I think I'm dreaming at the same time. But I'm sticking my body further out to say, man, what? I'm trying to hear it. I can't hear it. Pitch dark. The road, the South Sawyer Road, runs right in front of their house. On the other side is an open field. And I'm listening for this thing, and all I can see is a light. And it's just one constant light across that field. But it's higher than my trees here. My trees are probably, 50 feet tall? Probably double that.
Right.
But coming off the base, like I said, it sits lower from the South Sawyer because you got to go uphill to the South Sawyer Road. That's the east or west gate. I can't remember which one it is.
So, so that way you could estimate that it wasn't that high based on the other road.
Right.
And what happened when it finally decided to go up?
It got up past the house probably. It was more like if I was staring off to the west or east, or I guess it would be north. Yeah, it'd be towards Limestone, because we were on the Caribou Limestone border, across the street and you're in Limestone, you know, literally. So it was in Limestone, on the Limestone side, but it was probably, it didn't look like it was taking off this way. It seemed like it went, and then it just slowly started going up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like it just disappeared off into the nowhereville, like you see a plane and then, you know, going off an airport and it just gets smaller.
Right.
It stayed the same shape, same size, as it got closer to the property, you know, their land, because I could see it from a distance coming in. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like it felt like it was stopping. But it was like here I was and here this was, and then it just started doing this. You know what I mean? It didn't go this way, or, you know, like a plane would. It would track off.
Directly up.
It just rose. Yeah, it just stayed the same size the whole way, just like that. And it was white like this. It was big as, to me, it was about as big as round as that from a distance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was like the size of your fist at a distance.
Yeah, at a distance.
Wow, holy cow.
Yeah, because I could see it coming. Like I said, from where I was, there's a field. And then there was a house, and then there's a farmhouse, and then you got Edgecombe Farm down the road. So I could see it coming across. So, you know, because it's not uncommon to see a jumbo jet or you know, those B-52s. You could hear it. You can hear something like that.
Right.
But this was like quiet, like this. No, not a helicopter, none of this. You know, because a helicopter would make that same thing, and it could go straight up. But there was no pot, you know, like a. What's none of that?
Your viewpoint of it, it was as big around as the circle of a coffee cup.
As circle as that right there.
And about how far away do you think it was? Do you have an estimate on it? Could you tell?
Might have been from here to Mike Madowitz, and that's only half a mile up the road. It was about 150. Well, it was about twice my tree height, and about as big as round as that cup of coffee, and about a half a mile.
The craft must have been pretty big.
I don't know. It was just a light, but no sound of light. No sound of, no, you know what I mean? There was no sound. Is what
well, I know it is.
scared me, you know.
Those balls of light before.
I know, but when you see it close to the ground is what kind of, you know, I've seen things, you know, obviously traveling and what I do for a living. I used to do long haul truck driving. I've seen, you know, been across Area 51, been across the deserts, you know, seen all that. But when you see it from a tree line, and you're thinking in your mind one thing, but then when all of a sudden there's no sound. I was like, there's a problem here. That's what scared me. Is like, damn, there must be something going. You know, they must have been testing what do they call those? What do they call those? Hot air balloons. Not a hot air, you know, the one that people can fly in.
The dirigibles. Yeah,
the hard. I knew they had a test thing, but they hadn't done it yet. This was in 1991. Because the base closed in 93. You know, really close in '94, but when the planes flew off, it was in 1993.
So that was after the public announcement of the one that they saw there, that they scrambled the helicopters. So is that the only time you saw a UFO near that base, or did you? I thought you told me that when you were younger, you went to visit a friend's house and you saw something.
That was in Canada. It's always been in around. It's kind of weird. It's like a triangle here because Mars Hill Mountain, they've had sightings. Okay. There's Knoxville. That's on the opposite side of the border. Knoxville, New Brunswick. Or Knoxford. I will say Knoxford. And then you go to Limestone. Okay. Holton has had sightings. And obviously, you know.
What was the thing that you saw when you were in Canada?
This was a triangular craft. It was on when we, my brother saw the same thing. My brother and my friend Lee Lockhart. We saw this. It was above the street we were on. And it's
black triangle.
It was almost I don't know. It's hard to explain. It was like a Star Trek. Okay, if you looked at the bottom of one of their crafts, it felt like it was flat on the bottom, but it was triangular in the front. You know what I mean? But it had a side to it. And so it was like taking a carton of milk and tipping it on its side. You know how it has that little thing on the top?
Yep.
Is exactly what it looked like. But this had 6 lights on the bottom side of it. Had 3 on one side and 3 on the other. No lights in the front.
What color were the lights?
There was just all white lights. There was no red, blue. It wasn't nothing flashing. It was just one solid 3, and you know, there was 3 and 3.
What kind of size was there to this thing?
Well, it was like, jeez. It was a lot higher than what I saw in limestone. This one was probably, oh geez, I don't know. It had to have been 200 or 300 feet up, but looking at it, it would be about like that. And it had the triangular thing, and then three on this side and 3 on this side, and it was just constantly. But it was watching us again. It was like they was traveling up the street with us.
Wow.
You know. So, and this was, you know, we were just young guys out walking the streets.
So what did you guys think of it at the time?
Well, there was a golf course. We were on St. John Street. We were on a street called St. John Street in Woodstock, and right next to that is a golf course. So, my brother was the one that noticed it, and then my buddy, and then I saw it. I'm the one that took off first because, you know, we were like, I don't know, 13, 14 years old at the time.
What do you mean took off?
I took off because it scared the hell out of me.
Wow.
You know? And then my brother decided to take off, and then my buddy Lee, you know, he was like being all punkish. Come on, man, come on. You know, he was like, watched too many.
Me up.
Yeah, well, this is about the time. What Paranoid, everybody, was. Remember, what was that TV show? V. It was the same time. And this guy was like, come on. I was like, are you crazy? We don't know what the hell that is.
Wow.
You know? But it was funny. And I never saw it take off, but he saw it take off. You know? It was like that. But it was above, you know, so if we were looking at that, you were above the tree line. And he's 3 lights here, 3 lights here.
So you got a history with these things, don't you? You hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah, well.
And you and your wife had an experience, but
we're gonna wait on that one, yeah, because.
All right, well, that was awesome.
Yeah. But is it possible they can follow you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.